Hello, everybody, and welcome. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Room, the podcast brought to you by LFC Transfer Room. I'm Ritchie. I'm one of your co-hosts today. I'm joined by YouTube sensation himself, Matty. How are you, Matty?
I'm good. It's a disappointing result, but I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, all right. We're recording off the back of the Brighton 2-2 draw. To be fair, as disappointed as I was, I thought we were quite lucky to get away with a point because I thought the second half Brighton were a completely different team and they looked like the team who would perhaps snatch all three rather than us. So, yeah, a bit disappointing, but still unbeaten. 24, I think, in a row now, the longest streak in England. So we'll keep that up this weekend and hopefully against Atletico in the Champions League too. And we're joined as well by one of the co-owners of LFC Transfer Room, Dann. How are you, Dann? So best behaviour, by the way, Matt.
How's it going, boys? You doing good? I think I'm the one with the least nicest background right now. I have the world in the back. I'm in my stepbrother's room, so I'm sorry. I wish I could have a Liverpool flag like Matty does.
I'm in work. I'm in work. That's just hiding a lot of stuff behind it.
Ritchie has his baby in the back too.
I do, yeah. Yeah, she's famous now, bless her. So, yeah, she'll thank me for that in about 10 years' time, I'm sure.
Let's get started.
So we'll, it's been a busy week actually, considering we're not in the transfer window. It's a busy week, so let's round up a few of the things that have been happening. Liverpool will allow backup goalkeeper Loris Karius to leave in January for free in order to resurrect his career. It'll also free up £25,000 a week for the wage bill. Liverpool are also keen in Florian Wirtz to have a better chance of landing him. They've got in touch with the parents as well, and that's coming from Build. Over to the USA and CBS, Liverpool are in for USA forward Ricardo Pepi, and he's actually requested to leave the club. Now, this is a forward who we will speak about in future weeks because he does look quite a sensation and quite an exciting product as well. Reliable sources in Sky Sports Germany confirm Liverpool's interest in another sensation, Karim Adeyemi. Salzburg, however, don't want to lose him mid-season, so a possible sale in January with a loan back for 6 months to Salzburg is possible. And we've seen, again, the talents of Adeyemi, so we'll see what happens there. Speaking about talents over in Germany, moves us over to Jude Bellingham. Dortmund are going to do absolutely everything they can to keep him, and they're even considering bringing his brother Job to make him stay, and that's from Bild, a reliable outlet in Germany, especially off the back of slapping £100 million on him. It looks like Bellingham might perhaps be set to stay. Liverpool are considering Antony as one of their attacking options to bring in. That's from El Nacional. And Toney, who is 25 years of old, plays for Brentford, says that he is a Liverpool fan, and if the Reds come knocking, he would consider moving there. Matty, we'll head over to yourself first. Is there anything in there that takes your fancy?
I think Dortmund can back off Jude Bellingham because I think he's coming to Liverpool. I do think that's probably one of them rumours. You say it's like the worst kept secret. His dad's a massive Fred. He's a massive Fred. He's called Jude after the famous Beatles tune. So I do think he'll come. And Adeyemi as well. He's producing better numbers than Haaland at Salzburg. Now, I'm not going to say he's the next Erling Haaland, but he is a serious talent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Bellingham, the only thing that does put me off is that price tag. I know that if he pushes a move through, then it's obviously more likely to be, closer to 70, 80, which we know Liverpool would probably pay for somebody like Jude Bellingham. So hopefully, we'll see him in the red shirt, because at the moment, our midfield need all the help they can get, and Jude Bellingham would be a fantastic asset. Dan, anything from you?
I got two main ones that I really liked. The first one is just like Matty said, Karim Adeyemi. I wasn't really paying attention to these links, mainly because they came from just random outlets, the good old Fichajes and Dumbalone and all this stuff. But now we're getting confirmation from Build. We have Sky Sports Germany, which is one of the most reliable sources in Germany. Maybe not in England, maybe not in other places, but in Germany is one of the top-notch ones. There's also a few other German outlets Austrian outlets that are confirming the news. So now I'm just gonna jump in the train of the Adeyemi train, and I just want this guy immediately. It seems like a January deal seems possible with the reports of him of them claiming that they're open for the move only if we loan them back, which I don't want us to loan him back because we have AFCON supposedly. We don't even know if it's going to happen or not, but we have it in January. But that will be a huge deal. He's going to come in really cheap too. I mean, what's the quoted price? Like maybe 20, 23 million. That's basically what we paid for Andy Robertson. No, it's less. We paid like 13 for Andy Robertson. But yeah, I mean, there's more. Sorry. But yeah, you guys get it. I like that one. And I also like the Anthony from Ajax link. Although it comes from El Nacional, which is the Spanish outlet, an average reliable source, but he is amazing. I've seen him. He's awesome. Supposedly even Bayern wants him. But those two, if we can get Anthony and Adeyemi in, we're going to be unstoppable.
It's certainly a position where we need to strengthen in that attack with obviously Firmino, Salah and Mane aging. But I mean, those three are on fire this season, and keeping Diogo Jota out of the team, who has an amazing minutes per goal ratio. So we know that Liverpool. We've been saying Liverpool version 2 under Klopp for a long time in attack. Those front three have been the main front three for the duration really of Klopp's time at Liverpool. Which brings us on, I suppose, to the Ivan Toney links, because it would mean that if we would get someone like Ivan Toney, we would have to play differently. There is no one else. I genuinely believe there is no one else who can play the Firmino role the way that Bobby does. Anything we do, if we try to replicate the game, nobody can connect that team. Nobody has that adroitness that Firmino has. They don't have the intelligence and the skill and the style of Firmino to manipulate spaces. So we're going to have to change the way in which we play if those front three eventually, or when they do eventually go. Now, is Ivan Toney the man to lead the Liverpool line? He certainly is more than capable of doing it. He also wants to do it. If you've checked out our Twitter feed, please obviously check out our Twitter, because we posted earlier that he doesn't just want to come in and be the man for the bench. He wants to come in and be the main man for Liverpool. He said that he's a Liverpool fan. And, he would love nothing more than to play for us. So is Ivan Toney a replacement or a different option for Liverpool? Matty, I'll go over to you first.
I think he's a different option. One thing I will say on that interview we've done, I absolutely love his attitude. I love that attitude where it's, I'll just go in and make myself the main man. That's the type of players you want playing for this club. People who will come in with that bit between the teeth where they want to be starting every single week. I can't say I've seen much of Toney. I've only really seen a few of his games in the Championship and a few in the Prem. But I do like him. Liverpool have never done well with a tall attacker, but Ivan Toney's a little bit different because he's fast and tall. So he can play on that last man as well. The games I have seen of him, he does excite me. The game against us, he gave Virgil van Dijk a lot of problems. And it takes a quality striker to give Van Dijk problems. And then Klopp spoke to him for about half an hour after the game. So I do think we are maybe interested in him. And for the fact he said if Liverpool come knocking, it makes me think that he's maybe being told we are interested. But I'd bring him in. I think he's certainly best than Origi. So I think he's another option who would then be on the bench and will come off the bench like Origi does. And why not? And then if he's impressing enough, why he could be the main man.
But I'm pretty sure Matty wanted Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain to be the false 9 role. No, Matty?
That was Chris.
Come on, Matt.
Come on,
Matty. Just kidding. No, I'm not a fan either. No, but you're right.
I think with Ivan Toney, he had a real opportunity this year. He was phenomenal in the Championship last year. He played for Peterborough, which is my actual home club. Not so long ago as well. So, my friends and I have kept close tabs on him, and we've all put him in our fantasy team, and perhaps been let down a little bit this year because he's only he scored 2 goals and he's got 2 assists in 10 games, which, I personally expected better. I think the Premiership is a game changer. It is a lot more physical. It is a lot faster as well. However, I generally think his best game was against us, like Matty quite rightly said. he gave Van Dijk I've not seen too many strikers give Van Dijk that tough a time. My only issue is, like I've said before, is we would have to change the way in which, we play, because in his pressures and in the press, he's only actually on the 53rd percentile. Now, you compare that to Roberto Firmino, he finds himself in the 90th percentile for pressures and for leading that press. Diogo Jota is actually in the 96th percentile, which is huge. So he's actually our most pressing forward. Now, again, the press is so important because that's why Liverpool play the high line. So can even Toney come in and do that? Would it mean that we have to then drop back if he doesn't press as much? Can he learn to press? We don't know. He's quite a pacey attacker. He's not like a Christian Benteke, who is just strong, aerially. He is very, very good in the air. He's actually in the 91st percentile with aerials 1. So again, he's a different option. I think he's going to have a good run of games coming up against the likes of Norwich and Newcastle in Brentford's next few games, because at the moment, I feel like he's getting a little bit overshadowed in that Brentford team when I thought he would be the main man. I mean, any other thoughts?
I think with me, I don't worry too much now about players we go in for, because I've seen when we got Jota, I was one of the fans who was like, well, that's a mad sign. Because for me, I couldn't understand why we didn't go in for Werner when it was around the same price, where I think that's been proved completely wrong by every fan who thought that. And then when you look at someone like Andy Robertson, how many fans were happy we signed him as our left back, even though it was only between 8 and 13 million. Klopp and his coaching staff change players. So I do think if Ivan Toney come in, they'll tap into his weaknesses and focus on his strengths as well, and just make him an all-round better footballer. It's like Mo Salah. He wasn't world class before he came to Liverpool. Sadio Mane wasn't world class before he came to Liverpool. I'd even go as far as saying Virgil van Dijk wasn't world class before he came to Liverpool. He was very, very good, but not world class. He's never played on the world stage really in terms of like regular Champions League football. And when players come into Liverpool, they just seem to instantly become a lot better. So if we get Toney, I trust Klopp more than enough.
Yeah.
Like, I was thinking the other day of how many bad signings that Klopp's made, and there's not many. There really isn't many at all. So I trust if he comes in, I do think he's got an idea of what he wants to do.
I think it's some really good points. I remember the fume of signing Sadio Mane, and you only had to, I think it was his 5th anniversary of signing for Liverpool at the start of the season, and you only had to go back to the original post from Sky Sports and the Twitter comments. Why are we wasting all this money on so-and-so? He plays for Southampton, same as what you said about Robertson as well. So I 100% agree. Klopp does not sign. I cannot really... It's certainly not on 2 hands. I've struggled to count on 3 fingers a bad signing for Liverpool, if I'm honest, under Jurgen Klopp. So, you have to trust in that process. You have to trust in Klopp. And he obviously knows that there's something in there with Toney. And like I said, last year he lit the Championship up. So there might be a bedding in period as well.
Also, can we just take a look over the numbers of Diogo Jota, for example? The season before he moved to Liverpool, he played 34 games in the Premier League, and he only scored 7, and he assisted. So, I mean, I'm not too worried about Ivan Toney's stats. I think if he comes, Jurgen is going to completely transform him. The only issue I think I found him here is the fact that he's going to cost a lot of money, not just because he's a good player, but because he's English. The English tax is going to make him, he could be a 30 million signing, but because he is English, is suddenly going to become 45 to 50 million for a striker, which means, in my eyes, considering Erling Haaland's release clause, I preferably just pay 65 million or 60, whichever it is, for Erling Haaland than 45 to 50 for Ivan Toney.
Yeah, I'm sure Toney's wage demands won't be as much as Haaland, or his agent fees won't be as much as Mino Raiola's as well. But
I don't think he'll be that much either, because didn't they sell Ollie Watkins for about 25, 30 mil?
Yeah, he didn't go for that much money. But I think the issue is, again, they only have Toney now, so they would have to have somebody, you would think, to come in. I mean, we're certainly looking at the end of the season, not a January replacement as well.
With Mickey Edwards, I was thinking about this and I thought, I wonder if Origi's going to be past that deal.
Yeah, absolutely. You never know. To be fair, we mentioned it a couple of weeks ago. Divock Origi, when he's been called upon, has done the business this season. I don't know whether he's playing for a move. I don't know whether he's actually saying, I still want to play for Liverpool. But he's been a different player again this season.
Yeah, he has. He's impressed me. He's proved me wrong every time he's come on the pitch, to be honest with you. But that's just typical Divock Origi, isn't it? He comes on, does something good, and usually he goes missing for months. And the games he has been called upon, he's done well. But that would be a masterclass for me if you could get Ivan Toney for say 20 million and Divock Origi. That's a fantastic piece of business.
I also think he's, talking about Edwards, he's got to have something up his sleeve. He wants to leave a dynasty at Liverpool, and surely he's got one more big signing in him, even if it's like just a signing that we sign in the summer so he sets up the deal. I do think there's something. He's not just going to go out on a whimper. I just think he's waiting for something explosive to happen, and hopefully it will. So moving on though to our midfield, and we are struggling a little bit with injuries, and it just seems like the bad luck from the defenders' point of view last season has transferred to the midfield this season, and we are struggling for numbers. I think it was so evident against Brighton that Jones and Oxlade-Chamberlain are too much of the same player. They're too much of the same type without Fabinho anchoring down that midfield. With Naby Keita, with Thiago, with Henderson in that role, and even Milner, they can control and dictate the game, and that's what Liverpool lack. We saw it against Atletico Madrid where there were holes. We saw it against Manchester City when Milner, obviously playing at right back, was going forwards, but the 6 wasn't coming across. There wasn't the cover there. And we saw it against Brighton as well. When Thiago, Keita, Fabinho don't play, there's no one controlling that midfield. Henderson, as much as I love him, is not a 6. It's never been his role. He's a box-to-box player. And we talk about Naby Keita, and there's a lot of hype about Naby Keita, about should he stay, should he go. His contract runs out in 2023, which means he has to impress for Liverpool this year to get a new contract, or he will be out the door because Liverpool are not going to let him go for a free. I personally think he started the season really well. He's controlled that midfield. He did remind me when he's played of Gini Wijnaldum, but having more flair, having a little bit more skill and more creativity, and also, funny enough, because Gini bangs for Holland, he doesn't really, he never really scored too many goals apart from the Barcelona brace, for Liverpool. Keita also adds goals to his game, and Keita going missing or being injured changed the game against Brighton. And for me, I think Naby Keita, all of the hype about do we keep him, do we sell him? For me, I mean, he's a nailed on keep if he can stay fit. Now, when we talk about Keita being fit, we talk about the niggling muscle injuries. He's obviously suffered from an impact injury against Pogba, and now he's got this hamstring injury, which hopefully won't keep him out for too long. But that's always going to be the question mark over him. There's no doubt there's a quality player in there, but can he keep fit? I mean, is it a keep or is it a sell?
Was it the right decision? And I'm actually diving a little bit away from the topic, but was it the right decision from club to start Naby Keita after he got injured against United? I mean, I don't think this was really his fault. I think he shouldn't have started. We should have just played the Ox. I know Matty loves him as a false 9, but we should have played him as a midfielder. But I mean, that was just a wrong decision. I don't know why it happened. I think club pushed him to the limit in this game.
I think he looked at it and didn't have any other option because, as I said, if you play Jones and Chamberlain, they are too much of the same player. They're too much of advanced playmakers who like to make those intelligent forward runs and to get forwards, which leaves then that 6 exposed, and Henderson isn't a 6. So therefore he is exposed. So I don't think Klopp had any other choice. And also the injury was a hamstring injury. Obviously it wasn't his ankle what Pogba hit, but you make a really good point because Keita didn't return until Thursday for full training. So he's not had that week of preparation coming up, which is perhaps a reason why he got injured. But again, we're not physiotherapists. We can't put blame on anybody, I don't think, to why he got injured. I just don't think Klopp had any other choice.
You think, Matty? Do you agree with me? Come on, Matty, just agree with me.
I don't think he should have played now. But then I also do think that who else would play? I think the Ox's days are numbered at Liverpool, and it's sad because I loved the Ox when he first came. He was fantastic, but he had a fantastic assist at the weekend. But that's about all he done. He was poor for the other 70 minutes he played, and it seems like he's poor all the time. That game against Preston, he was poor.
Yeah.
very poor, and that's championship opposition. But yeah, I do think he had no choice but to start Keita on Sunday, but he probably shouldn't have. I would have liked to have maybe seen
Morton.
Yeah. I think I probably would have. I think because Brighton is a tough opposition, but I've been really impressed with Morton, and I probably would have started Morton over the Ox, which I think that speaks volumes about my opinion on the Ox these days. But
I
back
think it
to the
also frees
topic.
up Henderson, though, doesn't it? It frees up Henderson
Yeah.
to play in the role that he does play in. So it's not even about making, it's not about making the team better. You do that essentially because you play Henderson in that role. But it's also saying, we trust you. You've played 2 really good games and you have that investment. Happy birthday, by the way, Tyler Morton as well. But you have that investment there, and it allows Henderson then to control the game if Keita goes off. So, I mean, I agree with you. I don't know whether Morton was in the matchday squad or not, but
yeah, he was.
Hindsight, was he? Okay. So, I mean, hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it? But, it's so difficult.
The question really is, though, but like, Ritchie, do you stick or do you not stick with Keita? I feel like Matty and Ritchie and myself, we haven't given an answer yet because we don't even know what the correct answer is.
No, I've got my answer on Keita. I think if you would have asked me before the start of the season, I would have said sell. And I think I've said on this podcast a few times to sell him. He's changed my mind this year. Every time he's played, he's been a different player. That United game, Naby Keita ran the show. He absolutely ran the show in that.
It's like every single game this season, he's ran the show.
Yeah,
every single
game. He's been fantastic. I do think we are seeing glimpses of the Naby Keita that we bought from Leipzig. The only thing that worries me is his injuries. Now, if someone said to me, would you lose Naby Keita in a deal towards Jude Bellingham? I'd probably say yeah, because of his injuries. But if you're not getting a replacement in like Jude Bellingham, I'd say keep him.
This is it. I think a lot of it depends on who else Liverpool have, because if Liverpool have a fully fit squad, then I don't even know whether Keita starts over that midfield trio of Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, because Thiago can effectively do what Keita does. Henderson can do only really what Henderson can do, is in that box-to-box midfield, and he's the captain as well. So for me, if
don't bounce on me here, but I think I'd start Keita, Fabinho and Thiago. I think Henderson has been poor since the middle of last year. I think he forced his contract through the media to get the fans to jump on the club's back. Giving him a 4-year contract seems a little bit criminal.
Matty with those claims, he's just
I might get some hate.
Fire.
I might get some hate for it, but Jordan Henderson, he's been a fantastic servant for the club, but in the last 12 months, I don't think he's been as good as he was. Maybe that's all his injuries coming up on him, and he's got something wrong with his feet as anyway. He's flat-footed and stuff. So maybe that's starting to come to fruition now with Hendo, but obviously Hendo's going to start. He's the captain, but I think our strongest midfield on the day is Fabinho, Thiago, and Keita.
It is. The problem really is I feel like Hendo has just laid back a little bit, mainly because there's no competition for him. I mean, Keita's always injured. Thiago is not always injured, but he's most of the time injured. Well, not most of the time. He's just very injury, I guess, prone, you can say. There's also the likes of Curtis Jones, who, although is really good, he's still young. So that's why Klopp doesn't play him as much as other players. Ox hasn't been the best. So, I mean, there's not really a player that is pushing Hendo for his position. Gini just left. So, I mean, why should he even, put in the fourth, fifth gears? But, I mean, I don't know. I really think I am with Matty in the same boat. I think Klopp expected to have a Fabinho, Keita, Thiago midfield, but due to injuries, it just hasn't happened. If you ask me, with Naby, I mean, I'm not going to say too many bad things about Naby, because lately on social media it's been crazy. You critique one player, everybody's going crazy over the messenger, right? So I'm not going to say too many bad things about Naby. What I would say is that we do need a new midfielder, not only to push Henderson, but also to replace Gini, because Naby just hasn't been up to the fitness standard that we needed.
We're also forgetting one young Harvey Elliott, who came into that midfield and made his position his own as well. So there certainly was a lot of competition at the start of the season. It just seems to be diminished now, with obviously Milner being sidelined for a while too. So it's a difficult one. And again, there's an absolute player in Naby Keita, and it's just so frustrating. It must be devilishly frustrating for him as well, because he knows what he can do and he starts to do it, and then he gets a knock, or then he gets a nil-time tackle. And, you know, it just must be awful for the bloke as well, because we know how great he is. So there's also
one of my biggest frustrations with Naby Keita is via Curtis Jones. Now, Curtis Jones has been getting so much hate lately, unwrongfully so. Against Brighton, he was terrible. I'll be the first to admit that now. This isn't me pushing Curtis Jones because everyone knows me love for him. It's more the fact Curtis Jones at this current age should be a bit part player in this team. It is not his fault that he is having to play week in, week out. He's 20, he's going to make mistakes. And my biggest frustration with Keita and Thiago always being injured is that Jones is having to play every game, and now he's just getting hate for it. He's a kid. Like, Harvey Elliott will make, if he was fit, he would have made a few mistakes by now. He shouldn't be playing every single game at that age. And I've seen loads of people saying, sell him, he's crap. Get rid of him. If Villa come in, get rid of him. Curtis Jones and Harvey Elliott, for me, are the future of Liverpool's midfield. And the only frustrating thing for me around it is how injury prone the other players are, so that these kids are being relied upon to lead one of the biggest sides in the world in the Premier League. And that's the frustrating thing.
It's also difficult for Jones because he's having to play not just week in, week out, but he can't play in his preferred role of, you know, being that creative force and that attacking drive, because he is having to. We saw him in a 6 this season. You know, he's not a number 6. He's not a defensive midfielder. He plied a trade on the left attacking midfield role, then moved into the centre. You know, he's as good as he is defensively. He's not a defensive midfielder. So again, these injuries are playing people out of position. And Ox and Jones, they are too similar. Same as when we used to play Henderson and Milner in that midfield together, and people say they're too similar. They can't play together. Again, it's the same argument. So I mean, it's a tough one. It is a tough one, especially, because I agree with Matty with Elliott and Jones.
I think I made my decision. My decision would be take out Oxlade-Chamberlain and keep Naby Keita as a squad player. I think he deserves to stay. The person that deserves, now I'm not going to say deserve to leave, but deserves better chances at a different club is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. I think it is.
I think with the Ox, he deserves to play every week, and he should be playing every week. He's won it all now. He has won everything he can after winning in England. I think West Ham, I said this to start the season, was the perfect club for the Ox back in London. I know it'll benefit his missus being in London for the music. And the Ox is from down there. Now, I've got no hard feelings to the Ox. Even if he was to go in January, I'd like to see him play every week, because I like the Ox as I don't know him personally, but as a person, what he portrays through the media, I do like him, and I'd wish him the best. But I think I'd agree with you on that, Dan. Like, maybe swap the Ox and Keita's role. And then if you brought someone like Bellingham in, then you'd start like Fabinho, Thiago and Bellingham, with having Jones, Elliott and Keita as your depth, and then Hendo coming in as well. It's a strong midfield then, but at the minute, I just think we've got too many injury-prone midfielders to be doing anything.
Anyway, from us to you, that is what we ask. What would you like from the Liverpool midfield? Who is the strongest Liverpool midfield? Let us know in the comments. And would you like to see any of them leave this summer as well? It's a contentious decision, one that will cause debate, which is why we do what we do. But thank you for joining us. We have Atletico Madrid coming up and West Ham. We said last week that we wanted two wins out of 2, the same again as well. So it could be a very, very big week before the international break. So please make sure that you follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and listen to us on Spotify, on Google, on every single podcast device. Okay, but from now, Matty, Dan, it's been an absolute pleasure to speak with both of you. And as from now and always, up the Reds.
Up Reds.